to the ASEI. This is the first episode in the Engineering Tales series that aims to highlight the career journeys of our members who have scaled great heights in their career. Some of these are life members or longtime members of the American Society of Engineers, while some of them are new to ASEI. Yet each of these stories is inspirational as these individuals persevered to make a name for themselves in the adopted land or karma bhumi away from their janma bhumi or birthplace in the Indian subcontinent. One common theme is that they all started from being an engineering science student once upon a time. So buckle up and listen in, and don't forget to share your thoughts and comments and get involved if you're not already an active member in the community. Hello, welcome to those who are new to ASEI or are non-members joining as guests. Let me introduce briefly. American Society of Engineers of Indian origin was formed in 1983 with a mission to foster science and technology temper, collaborate in Indo-US technical relations, share knowledge, and create a community of like-minded engineers and scientists amongst the Indian diaspora. With, with five active chapters who aspire to organize events in their local geography, I'm your host, Piyush Malik, founding president of the Silicon Valley chapter, where for the past few years since inception, we have focused primarily on STEM and give back to K 12 education and underprivileged in the community. I'm honored to be leading the ASEI National Board this year in addition. Today, in Engineering Tales, we will be talking with Dr. Thomas Abraham, who is a life member and has been serving on the ASEI board for a few years now. After graduating in metallurgical engineering from India, he did his advanced studies, master's, and a PhD from Columbia University. And Dr. Abraham is an expert in advanced materials and nanotechnology. Dr. Abraham is the president of Innovative Research and Products, a Stamford, Connecticut based technology and market research firm. He is experienced both as a materials scientist and technical economic analyst in the field of advanced materials and nanotechnology. He has been a frequent invited speaker on the state of nanotechnology and advanced material industries at several professional society meetings. Also, he has organized dozens of conferences in high tech adhesives, fine and nano powders, nanoparticles, nanotechnology, and nanomaterials. He has written over 50 papers that are published in various professional journals and magazines. Apart from being a nanotechnology expert, Dr. Abraham's claim to fame is the community work that he has done for the Indian community. He can be given credit to the NRI PIO movement in the last 4 decades. He coined the term PIO, People of Indian Origin, in 1989 when he put together the first convention of people of Indian origin in New York. In recognition of his leadership and service to the Indian American community, Dr. Abraham has been honored with several community awards, including Asian American Lion Club Award, Federation of Indian Associations Award, Indian Tribune's Gandhi Community Service Award, amongst others. And in 2008, he received three big awards: the prestigious Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Outstanding Alumnus Award at his alma mater. And just on this day, 13 years ago, he got Bharatvanshi Gaurav Award. Come, let's meet and have a conversation with Dr. Abraham. Hello, Dr. Abraham. So nice to see you. ASEI members and the world, please meet Dr. Thomas Abraham. He is an engineer by training, and he is a philanthropist. He is a community builder. He has so many credentials to his credit that I could go on, but I would like him to introduce himself in 60 seconds for you to know him. So, Dr. Abraham? Floor
Well,
is
thank you.
yours.
Thank you, Piyush. This is a wonderful thing to talk to the engineering community and, of course, the people at large too. I'm basically a metallurgical engineer, graduated from Malawiya National Institute of Technology, which was called Malawiya Regional Engineering College when I graduated in Jaipur, and then came to United States. I did my master's in mineral engineering and a doctorate in mineral engineering. At the same time, I did almost a second PhD in industrial engineering and operations research. Of course, I did not do the thesis, so it is called an industrial. It is called it is called a professional degree. That's what they call. But then, while at Columbia, I started getting into the community. It so happened that I happened to be in New York when all the large number of people coming from India, when Air India had the 747 coming and landing in JFK, and they all settled in New York. And then I happened to be at Columbia University, which was the center of Indian community activities at that time when the new immigrants wanted to find some place where they could meet other Indians. And we had this Bollywood film. So I got involved in the community from that time. So from that time on, it didn't stop me and went on doing bigger and much bigger things for the whole larger Indian community. So, but I'm basically an engineer, and I came to ASEI in 2013 when I was invited to give a perspective of the Indian community at the ASEI opening meeting. Then Mr. Harry Bindal, who was involved in organizing, asked me whether he could come and help ASEI. That's why I joined, and I do see a great potential for ASEI.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful life story. Now, let's break it down a little bit and talk about your metallurgical engineering to what you do today in your professional life. Now, you are leading an organization, a research organization in nanotechnology. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I graduated with a degree in extractive metallurgy, went to University of Denver, where I did as a research scientist, doing extraction of cobalt and nickel and those kind of materials, which were at that time around early 80s. These were some of the strategic materials at that time, and
Hmm.
they were controlled by a few countries at that time. So US wanted to put more money into research in those kind of metals. But then I moved to the Brookhaven National Lab, where I also worked as a scientist in terms of disposal of high radionuclide waste. But then my job changed over to do industry analysis and market research in advanced materials, especially advanced ceramics. So I was basically a ceramist. I used to attend the American Ceramic Society meeting, and
Hmm.
used to be the leading analyst in advanced ceramics area. That was the time in the 80s when there were a lot of new concept for automobile engines, where they would have a ceramic engines to run the whole. At that time, Department of Energy put a lot of money into that. So I was evaluating all that, and also advanced materials became a big buzzword at that time in the 80s. Yeah, ceramic components, very wear resistant components for various applications, cutting tools, then aerospace application. And that was the time when we had this space shuttle. You need the tiles for the space shuttles. These are all ceramics. And of course, ceramics got a big boost in the 70s and 80s when the new chip was brought in. In fact, IBM was involved. So suddenly it became a materials. It was not anymore metals. It was materials. So I became a material scientist, and
Hmm.
ceramics was my area. And then what happened by early 90s, so 92, 93, I suddenly see a lot of ceramic particles coming, which were sort of many of these large national labs coming out with ceramic particles, which were nanoparticles.
Hmm.
So it came under the purview of my area because these were all ceramics. So I did did some study in industry analysis and market research on nanoparticles, which are advanced ceramics nanoparticle, because these were the particles which were basically stable oxide particles. That is what they could synthesize at that time, because if you can't it was so difficult to synthesize any metallic particles, or because it can just get burned out or oxidized.
Mm-hmm.
So when I looked at it, I did some study on ceramic particles, nanoparticles, and by mid 90s, this nanomaterial became a buzzword. And in 1998, for the first time, since I was already connected to the industry where these particles could be used, I organized the first worldwide convention connecting to the lab technology of nanoparticles to the industry where it can use. So we organized this first meeting in New York City, where we had delegates from all over the world. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
even from China, Russia, many other places, they also came and presented their work. And 98 onwards, nano started becoming a buzzword. 98, 99, and by 2003, there was Nano Business Alliance Association, which was formed. Then every city, every country, every state, they all putting money into nano area. Of course, I continued in nano area. I did studies in nano manufacturing, making nano chips, nano medicine, then nano enabled batteries.
Mm-hmm.
All these kind of studies I did, and in 2006 I went on my own with my own company called Innovative Research and Products, which still does many areas of nano materials. But our analysts also do electronic components, then electronic generation and storage devices, and then many other advanced materials area, which we are very much specialized.
Great, great. When you were talking, I was remembering my chemistry lessons, my polymer science lessons, my advanced manufacturing lessons that I studied as an engineer. But more importantly, coming to the present times, I mean, your history shows that you have been very well connected within your own industry and your own discipline. At the same time, you've been a great community organizer, and often credited as the person who came up with the name PIO, person of Indian origin, and you founded GOPIO. Talk about that organization and how you brought everybody together from the people perspective.
Well, it was in Columbia University when I did this. When I was studying, after I finished my, uh, I was finished my doctoral this qualifying exam. After I joined, within 2 years, I finished my qualifying. Then it's so good that at Columbia the professors leave you alone. They don't come and look through your shoulder. But then it
Hmm.
so happened that 1974 I got involved, and I became the chairman of a committee called Joint Committee of Indian Organizations in New York. And it so happened that the Columbia University group had a great influence on the community in New York, because all these community groups were being formed. That includes the various language-based group, the Hindu temple, the Sikh Gurudwara. All of them started being formed or established. So Columbia University had a big influence, the India Club, because we used to run a radio program. And remember at that time,
Hmm.
when people come from India, there is no connection back home. Even
Hmm.
when you see, you can think about at that time making a telephone call to India is about $3 a minute at that time.
$4, yes, I remember.
It's 1975,
Yeah.
73, 74. And then there is no other connection at all. That you might see a small news item in New York Times if there is a big flood or something happened, some mishap happened in India. That's only that.
Right.
Then we had this Bollywood films. At Columbia University, being in the center of New York City, we used to get their auditorium available, and we used to
Mm-hmm.
do this 16 projector. We used to rent a projector from the audiovisual department, and then we used to get these films and we used to show it. So on a Saturday, we used to have about 2 or 3 films, and we charge maybe $1 all the 3 films. People can
Mm-hmm.
sit there from 2 o'clock till 9 o'clock, see the Indian films, and then same thing
Mm-hmm.
about 2 films, 2 shows on Sunday. So it so happened that we generated a lot of money through this film show. The new when an Amitabh Bachchan or Shami Kapoor movie comes, everybody flocks in the new films, and then we used to have a lot of revenue. Then we had a trust. In fact, you may have heard about something called Spick Mackey.
Of course, yes.
Yeah,
I was
this
involved in
came
college
out of
time.
our support from India Club of Columbia.
Oh, wow.
We had about $15,000 in at that time. I'm talking about early 70s, and Dr. Kiran Seth, who was a PhD graduate from Columbia, went to IIT Delhi. So he said he's starting then. So we transferred all the money to him to start this. Of course, he went on reaching out to the various state governments and other agencies and make it much bigger. But that is, you can see an early contribution of NRIs to India. You can see
Mm-hmm.
that this is just an effort of the student group who raised so much of money, and we gave it to Spick Mackey to get it started. And then, so it so happened that this station was there, and we used to give timing to all these cultural groups, Punjabi, Telugu, Malayalam, Bengali, and they used to come. So we had little influence over them because we were sort of a center of activities. So we brought out, when I became the president of India Club of Columbia, I told them that why not we, instead of a committee to organize the various India Independence Day program or Republic Day or Gandhi Jayanti, let us become an active group supporting the new immigrant group. So we formed the first Federation of Indian Association. I was
Mm-hmm.
served as the president of that for 5 years. And in fact, that is a big group in New York even now. It does the India Day parade. This is going to be the 40th India Day parade is going to be starting, will be done now. So that group is becoming like a 50-year-old now. So that
Mm-hmm.
was become a big group. And then when we, by 1980, I find that the Indian community groups are all over the country. The first thing in 78 was that we put together a directory of all Indian community groups. Then I read them out. And around 79, 80, I traveled to every city in America. And it so happened that there were this United Airlines or US Air, no, sorry, Delta Airlines and US Air. You can buy for something like 2 weeks, you pay $500. You can go to any city. So you
Hmm.
write your own ticket at that time. There is no
Hmm.
restriction. So I travel, I looked at this, it cost me only about $20 for each city just to go. Only thing is that if you have to go from San Francisco to Los Angeles, you may have to go through San Francisco to Denver, and then Denver to Los Angeles, because there's no direct flight from San Francisco to Los Angeles. But you had to be in their system. I did
Mm-hmm.
that, and I used to cover something like about 3 cities on a Saturday and 2 cities on a Sunday.
Wow.
Travel like 2 times I did that, and then brought about 1,000 people from all over the country. Now, to make it attractive for people, what we did at that time was that we also did the alumni get together of all the groups, including all the IITs,
Mm-hmm.
Bengal, Calcutta Medical College, Karnataka Medical College, Kerala medical graduates. So this was to attract them to come to New York. In fact, all this alumni, Pan IIT alumni, the beginning is that 1980 when we had each IIT had its own get together. IIT
Yeah.
Kanpur,
So,
IIT
so,
Delhi.
so you unified them
We
eventually.
brought them. We gave an opportunity for them to come. We arranged the places for them, various restaurants and rooms at the hotels. I'm talking 1980. And
Mm-hmm.
so we announced through at that time the community newspaper, and there was one or two television stations. So we announced through India Abroad and India Tribune, India West, that we are doing this big convention and we are going to have alumni get together of the various IITs and various engineering and medical colleges. So everybody flocked in because that was also a way to bring them to New York to the convention. So they all came, although some of them just attended their IIT get together and then went back. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, we brought all the community together. So that is where the National Federation of Indian Association was formed, and I served as a chairman for 10 years. But then by 1988, suddenly what we see that our Indian community was started getting hit human rights violation, not only in the Caribbean countries, in South Africa, apartheid was still going on. In Fiji, an elected government was thrown out, which was Indian dominated government was thrown out. And even in New York, there was something called a dot buster gang
Mm-hmm.
targeting Indians. And
Mm-hmm.
that is dot buster because our women have the bindi on their
Bindi on the forehead.
forehead.
Yeah.
And at that time, what happened, there was a movie called Ghostbuster. That
Mm-hmm.
movie was released around 87. So some people say that we are we are
Dot
dot
busters.
busters. And it was in New York Times, and then one person got killed. So we said, we can't go like this. So we did a big convention. About 3,000 delegates came for one full week. We started on August 27th on a Sunday, and then in 1989 it went up to September 3rd, 7 days. We in there we discuss various things like our political involvement in various countries, development of India, and every day was one theme for a convention, a
Mm-hmm.
conference theme. And so the main thing at that time was that many of our communities were outside the political mainstream. In Caribbean countries like Trinidad, Guyana, Suriname. In Africa, of course, apartheid was there. And then in countries like Sri Lanka, had Indians had the problem with the with the other communities, and in
Mm-hmm.
Malaysia, and then of course even in Fiji. So our so we formed the Global Organization of People of Indian Origin, and even the countries like England, UK, Canada, and USA, our thrust was to bring in new people the new generation, people who are interested in public service, promote them. And that's what we did. Even in the United States, whenever somebody came forward to run for a public office, we brought them and provided them help, or in fact, all of them. In the
Yeah.
beginning, they had to get the support from the community, and we did.
Right.
And now we can see, I mean, we're so proud to see that we have reached to the level that, because of the initial community support, many of them, whether it is Governor Bobby Jindal or Governor Nikki Haley, or even now with Vice President Kamala Harris, when she ran for the Attorney General first in San Francisco and then as the Attorney General of California. And later, of course, now as a senator. In the beginning, it was a community who supported. So
Right.
our
Right.
community groups played a major role in bringing our community to the political mainstream. That was the biggest achievement we had. And at the same time, when we did the convention 1989, we have 3,000 delegates, and government of India fully supported. Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi was the honorary patron. In fact, he put the whole government machinery to see that this convention was successful. Although we are not affiliated with any government or any political party, we look at our interest, the diaspora interest, and the interest of India to build up an image of India, good image of India in every country. So we keep a arm's length, like an arm's length with government of India or government, but we work closely together. And
Wonderful.
they started the Pravasi Divas after our model. We did it in 1989 when Vajpayee ji came as the prime minister in 2000. Then he appointed a commission to look at the diaspora issues, and they had the Pravasi Bharata Divas in 2003, and we fully support them and work with them.
Excellent, excellent. So the community organization helping Indians uh, coming together for various reasons, and more importantly, unity in numbers, unity is strength, and you were able to establish this organization, GOPIO, and the persons of Indian origin found a home, a virtual home where they could uh, shelter together, gather together, and help each other out. And no doubt you have met so many of Indian prime ministers and presidents in the past. And I was reading somewhere that when you organized for not only Atal Bihari Vajpayee, but Indira Gandhi and
Morarji
Morarji
Desai.
Desai, and I'm sure you've met the current Prime Minister Modi
Yes.
as well.
Mhm.
You have taken delegations from US to India as
Mhm.
well to promote the interest, and no doubt for all your community efforts, you've been recognized with Pravasi Bharati Samman and Bharatvanshi Gaurav Award. So congratulations, sir, on that. And this is great honor for us to have you on the ASEI board. And I first met you in 2014 when I was invited to speak at the ASEI convention, and I was new to the organization. And there I met so many folks, including yourself. And now for the last few years, we've been serving on the national board. And to the folks who are still not members of ASEI, and those who are seeing how during the shelter in place COVID time, we have transformed ASCI into a closely knit group for the benefit of the engineering profession, whether it is mechanical, civil, or electrical, electronics, computer science, or IT, and scientists. So you have seen how we have conducted our recent events in the last 1 year during the COVID times. So you want to give a message out to the ASCI audience out there?
Yes. See, my own, I'm basically an engineer, but I have been spending most of my time for the larger Indian community activities. But I had known about ASEI when it was started in the early 80s, but never had the time to get involved. But in 2013, I was invited when ASEI had the convention at the University of Maryland. I was given an opportunity to give a overview of the Indian community, and there I met Dr. Harry Bindal, and he had suggested that I could come and help. My message to all engineers, technologists, and scientists: see, unlike many other professional groups, we don't have specifically much issues or problems. I mean, in the 60s and 70s and all, there was discrimination, national origin. Our accent is not to the same level as Americans. But our people who have come from India and studied in US university, they are done extremely well, and they are the top of the classes. So they get into good company and they're good profession, good jobs. There's no problem per se where they need to unite together to fight for a common cause. But I do see what is happening in the world. We as a community can contribute, and that could be a thrust where we could all join together. Look at what happened to United Nations. They used to have so many committees, UNDP, the putting all these efforts, but they all failed. Now a new avenue, a new world has emerged, and we as a engineering and technology and scientific community of Indian origin can play a major role in the world, not only for India, but even the countries where we have large Indian population. See, just look at when we got independence about 70 years back, we had to import anything and everything which is commercially manufactured. But now India has become a big hub of manufacturing, whether it is automotive components or whether many other things. India has been able to do it. Now, if you look at the total number of people, uh, Indian origin technologists, scientists, and engineers constitute one of the largest in the world. Similar to China.
Hmm.
Chinese, same thing. So we both are in the top level because here, if you look at what is happening in the United States and Western countries, Europe and England, many other people who do not go much into science, technology, and maths, and our generation still do go. And if you look at many of the national competition in STEM, our children have done extremely well. So we will continue to provide the necessary people for STEM. So we do have a role, and if we can join together, and our objective would be to nothing to personally gain. Of course, there is some networking that all do help. But if you look at a much bigger objective, that what we could bring together our professional resources, financial resources, to help India and other countries, we could play a major role in the world because the whole world is changing now. I mean, the physical boundary which we have separating the countries, that is not there anymore because of the advent of internet and new connected world. So I would suggest that everyone who is an engineer, scientist, or a technologist, please join ASEI. We'll find a way, a new way to see how we can, as a group, do things good for the whole world.
Wonderful message, Dr. Abraham. Uh, Come together as engineers, as scientists, and pool resources to help the next generation, promoting STEM, promoting activities which empower the citizens at large of our adopted country, which is America, as well as our native country, which is India, and bring them all together to promote scientific temper, promote engineering thinking, and make a better world for the future generation. With that message, thank you so much, Dr. Abraham. Namaste.